Welcome to the Shift Happens podcast with me, Richard Sutton. Here we speak to people who have navigated extraordinary pressure, adversity and change. Moments that tested them, transformed them and ultimately shaped who they became. Join me as we explore what made their shift happen. On today's podcast, we have an Olympic gold medalist, one of the most decorated athletes in Commonwealth Games history, a man who has told me he's not done yet. Let's dive into the session with none other than Chad le Clos. I'm going to jump straight in.
You jump straight in.
Paris 2024, fourth Olympics, shoulder injury. You're 32 years old. You touch the wall, you look up. It's not enough. No final. What do you feel in that moment? You know, your whole life you built your career, you've built who you are on never quitting, never stopping, it's relentless. And now you kind of look up and the result says it's over. How do you feel in that moment?
Hard to describe. I think I probably knew about 20 seconds before, because the guys that I was racing, I was actually in an unseeded heat, which is the first time ever in the Olympics I was in an unseeded race. So I knew I had to win my race quite comfortably to make it through to the semis and the final. And with about 20 to go, off the wall, actually at 50, the shoulder pretty much came out again, like it did 4 weeks before. So I kind of didn't have any range in my right shoulder. So I kind of knew 20 seconds before that it was over. It was quite hard to deal with, I think, not necessarily in that moment. It was more like an hour later, when it kind of sets in and you're going back home and you realize that you're not even in the semi-final, not even the final, right? Mm. That was very new territory for me. But also I think I'd prepared myself weeks before for what actually happened. It was a freak accident when I dived in the water in Germany and one of the young girls dived in and I had fins on and I was about to break the water and I saw in the corner of my eye and the whole upper trap came out. So the first rib on the right side, that completely came off. Goodness. Thankfully, there was a doctor to help click it back in, but the nerve damage all the way through the scalene and the sternocleidomastoid completely ruptured a bit. So we couldn't actually prepare those 4 weeks before the Olympics.
And I can imagine, you've been through to the final on 3 previous occasions, and as you said, an hour later. What happens an hour later?
Yeah, I think the pain in the moment was quite severe, but it wasn't the pain that was upsetting me, of course. Yeah. It was the fact that I didn't have another crack at it. And I think I just want to make it very clear to the listeners, that I even at 100%, I wasn't winning, as it breaks my heart to say that. I wasn't medaling either. The best result was probably a final, if I was at 100%, but that would have been okay for where I was, coming off where I was in Germany for 2.5 years, before the Olympics. So I just want to make that clear. Like I didn't get injured. I didn't win the final.
Of course,
because I don't want people to think I'm that guy. And I like to keep it real. And we spoke about it off camera. We want to keep this very real. I think my belief in any race is that I'm going to win. So even moments before I walked out, my shoulder was still strapped. Maybe 6 minutes before I walked out, we got them to tear it off just before. I still believed that I was going to get through, and I was somehow going to get a medal. That was my disillusional belief. Okay, now some of the swimmers listening will be like, he's out of his head. But that's the belief that I've always had since I was 15, right? So after an hour later was difficult to process because, you get the media coming to me and asking me all these questions and I'm trying to be as honest and trying to make the minimal excuses or the reasons, that this has happened. But also I was very real in saying like, look guys, I wasn't in the greatest shape coming in here, But the doctors did say I probably shouldn't have raced. And that was probably the one thing which I regret a little bit. Probably shouldn't have gone out there.
So we go back 8 years and go to the Rio Olympics. You're already the Olympic champion. Now you've got this massive weight on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you got Michael frothing at the mouth. I think up until 2005, I might be wrong on this, but he hadn't lost the 200-meter fly?
Yes, he hadn't lost. So
this was his event.
Yeah, he hadn't lost. So before London, he hadn't lost in over 12 years.
Now, so you arrive you've got all that pressure, and you've got this matchup, and I'm sure the media was going crazy on this matchup, but you're also dealing with 2 parents who are struggling.
We talk about 24, the disappointment. The disappointment in Rio was much higher than 24, just to contextualize it. Rio to this day is still something that I've accepted it, but I don't think I'll ever fully be over it, because that race I should have won against Phelps, the one that I got fourth in. That's one race that I believe if we run it back 100 times, I'll win 90 times and he wins a couple times. You know, maybe in London, the opposite way around, we run that race back. He wins 90 times and I'll win one of those 10. That's the way I see it.
At what point in the race did it all change?
It wasn't necessarily the race. I think we're going back to the build-up of how there were a lot of things, there were a lot of, let's call them boulders that were in that valley, you know? Talk about sports psychology. And I can handle a lot. And I think there was just slightly too much on my plate at the time, from the pressure to carry South Africa, from my parents both being very sick, mainly my mom. My dad I wasn't too worried about because he was okay. My mom was in a very bad place. So that was really hard for me. And then obviously Michael Phelps. At the time, my relationship with my coach wasn't the best. We could say that. We have a very good relationship now. But things were on the edge, you know, and I think everything came to a point, especially for that moment, because that was my race. It was also my race. I mean, Michael's baby was also my baby, obviously beating him 4 years prior. And yeah, was there moments of panic in the race? For sure.
Moving on to Bert. You know, so London, I mean, everyone got to know your dad. I mean, it was a national hero, you know, so we've got that moment. But more than that moment, the man, who is he to you?
Sure, I could do a podcast just on my dad, I think. But in all seriousness, without my dad, I've said it many times, my dad is like, he's my best friend. Like I'd say my brother George is my best friend, but my dad is like someone that we've joined at the hip. You know, a lot of times when I come home, I'll say something that my dad has said an hour before and people think that we've communicated, but we haven't. We just in sync in so many ways. And I feel like my dad, he molded me into the person I am in terms of the athlete. You know, my mom and my dad molded me into the person I am today, but in terms of the athlete that I am, my dad has to take more credit than any coaches. You know, and I'm not dissing any coaches out there, you know, because I've had unbelievable people that I've worked with. So he figured that all out from a young age, and he protected me from a lot of the things that other swimmers have overdone. Was there a time when I had to push and get myself to a crazy level of fitness and a mental level of focus? Yes, of course there was. But he foresaw that and built me up in the right way. You know, so a lot of parents ask me about that. That's like the number one question. What did you do at this age? What did you do? What did you eat? And I'm like, I enjoyed my life until I was grade 9, until I was 15. That's when I stopped playing soccer.
But you were in the national squad at 14?
I was in the national junior team at 14.
Yeah.
I was very lucky enough to be selected actually because one of the guys punctured his lung. So I got called as like a backup, you know, and I ended up winning 2 gold medals. So it was one of those situations where, you know, life happened, right? The butterfly effect. And I was very fortunate situations, let's put it that way. And then from there, momentum grew, and we always had a self-belief that I was going to be who I was. I always believed that my race against Phelps was destiny, you know? I always idolized him. I always, you know, I don't want to say worship the ground he walked on, but he was my hero, right? But at the same time, I always knew that I wanted to beat him. So when that moment came along, I'd swum that race 1,000 times before. Exactly
in your mind.
How we did it, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. I knew exactly what I was doing. We didn't have a game plan because we knew what we had to do. We knew a year before, we knew 6 months before, we knew two months before, we knew 2 minutes before. It was so drilled in me because I'd watched so much of his racing. I knew exactly what he was going to do. You know, we knew what we were going to do. Did we think it was going to happen? Yeah, of course we did. But would we have taken silver? Probably. Would we have taken bronze? Absolutely. I was just turned 20 at the time. My big race was 2016, you know. It wasn't 2012, supposed to be. But again, life changed and 500s changed my life. That's why we're here today.
But I think we're here for a couple of other reasons as well. But if you know what really stands out in what you just said there is your clarity. And I think that's a lesson for everyone is in the difficult moments, in those challenging, in those overwhelming experiences in life, we lose clarity, but you never lost clarity. You knew exactly where you were going. Yeah. But I think at that stage of life, you knew exactly who you were.
Yes.
And we lose ourselves sometimes. We have to recalibrate. And
I've lost myself before, 100%.
Very powerful. But just going back to your dad, you know, what did he give you that winning could never give you?
both my parents gave me unconditional support, regardless of results. They were there from day one when I did soccer and I never played a minute, cheering with the camera there. Mom was there every single time. My dad was they were there for me. So they made me feel like it didn't matter about the results, especially from a young age.
Yeah.
You know, my dad would always say, he has a quote, he says, your son needs you more when he loses than when he wins. He doesn't need anybody when he wins because he's got everybody. So you got to be there for the down moments, you know, for the doubtful moments. And he always just made me believe that I was the best. He always told me I was a champ from a young age.
But you know what you just described there, I mean, it's a little aside, but it's so relevant to people you're going through things.
Yeah.
And what you described there was they praised the process.
Yes.
They praised the journey.
Absolutely.
And Carol Dweck from Stanford, you know, if you're going to create a growth mindset, anything is possible. I can achieve and do whatever I want in my life with enough effort and commitment and time and perseverance, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's parents who praise the process.
Yes, 100%.
And we get lost in the finish line.
No, he never lost sight. I think the best thing about my dad is the fact that he has a beautiful saying. He says to a young person, you can teach me about grandparenting and I can teach you about motocross or whatever, or pool, or whatever you're doing. You know, so he's never too old to learn and too, is it arrogant or too high and mighty? Yeah. So he looks at things very differently to other people, you know. And yeah, there's times that you got to be a bit strict and a bit more stern on your kid, I think. You know, and there was times that he had to be, but it was never around things that people thought it was.
You know, just talking about this world and this world of being an athlete and being an athlete for most of your life.
Yeah.
If not all your life.
Pretty much.
You know, most people see the medals and the fame and the bonuses and the endorsements and the bling.
Yeah.
But what they don't see, and I've spent 25 years in that world, what they don't see is the pain.
Sure.
It is
Yeah,
hard.
I don't see the pain.
I don't wish it on anyone. It is so tough.
You know it is, Rich.
It is so tough.
It's crazy. I think there was a time, I'd say before 2012, when I loved the pain. I still do secretly, you know, but like the work that I did and lead up to that was, inhumane is a bad word to say, but we did some crazy stuff. That's all I'm going to say. And like, I just knew that I was the most durable person. I wasn't the best swimmer in that final. Michael definitely was. But I was the most durable and the most resilient and the guy that just never quit. It's just like a little pit bull. Once I got into that leg, I didn't let go. That's where I was, right? And I think the mindset that I had, I've always tried to think of myself as a warrior in the pool, in whatever we do. You know, that's the motto my dad always told me. We don't give up. You know, it doesn't matter where we come. You got to swim with pride. You got to swim with gusto. There's always, if you're coming 15th, you try to come 14th. It's just what it is. You know, it's not always about winning, but it's about just never quitting. You'll never see me not put my head down the last 5-6 meters. Doesn't matter where I am, what race it is. You know, unless it's the heats and I'm playing around a little bit. You know, but in the final, never, ever.
And I think that's a lesson to everyone. You know, so many people think that how can we relate to an athlete? Their life is different to ours. They have what we don't. They have the opportunities we don't. And in many respects, you didn't. In many respects, you paid a tremendous toll. And there was a big meta-analysis. So looking at 34 studies, almost 2,000 people, looking at stresses in athletes. And what they uncovered was that on an ongoing basis, they could calculate 640 stresses on an ongoing basis in athletes, ranging from 4 categories. So you've got the public expectation, the team challenges, the environment, and obviously the performance that you're under.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy world, but you navigated this world by saying that just keep giving it everything.
Yeah, 100%. We just keep going.
Just keep giving it everything. So you we arrive at the moment. You've beaten Michael Phelps, the most iconic Olympian of all time. In his race, you're 20 years old, the world explodes, your world explodes. What did winning actually do to you? Not so much on the outside. I think everyone saw the outside, but on the inside, what happened?
It's a double-edged sword. I learned that quite recently in the last 5 years, where like that moment changed my life. Of course it did, and for the better, for the most part. But at the same time, you get thrown in this light that you're not necessarily ready for and prepared for. Because for me, I've always loved winning. Play FIFA, play whatever, play pool, table tennis. I want to try win. That's who I am as a person. But then when you don't succeed after that, it's just that mountain of pressure that comes, and that expectation is so heavy, you know. So for me, after London, was the most difficult time was 13, 14, 15, 16, by far. Those 4 years, I was probably, I don't want to say the most unhappy, because that's, but in the last decade and a bit, that was
some of the most challenging times.
Just challenging, man. Just the public expectation and the pressure that I was putting on myself, as well as just like every race. I'm talking about, like, you know, when I feel the most nervous, when do you think it is? Do you think it's the Olympics? Do you think it's the World Champs? When do you think I feel the most nervous?
When you're around people that you know.
No, competition. Which competition is the most nerve-wracking for me?
I'd say South African SA Champs.
By far.
Yeah.
I am the most stressed when I come to SA Nationals.
Yeah.
Over the years, I swim my worst at SA Nationals. I come there, I scrape together these victories, and then 3 months later I go and I win the Olympics and World Champs. Everyone goes, how do we do it? I'm like, you don't understand how much pressure there is when I step on the block at home and everyone is cheering or not cheering or expecting me to win and hoping maybe I lose.
Expectation, huh?
Yeah, so it's just, even now, I mean, I'm 34, man. I got on the block now and I was still like, I was like shaking. I was like, damn, this is again, it's happening again. But in some respects, I do love that. I love those emotions, you know, but we go back to what winning means to me. I think what winning gave me was, it gave me opportunity in things that I never dreamed of experiencing. I went to Old Trafford in 2013 in the Man United box, got invited there. I met Tyson.
You're a big fan of Man United.
Big fan of Man United.
Made a good comeback this season.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I'm coming as coach soon. 5 years time. But no, we met Tyson Fury, went to Laureus Sports Awards in 2013. You know, met some unbelievable people. Got to meet the Springboks on multiple occasions from all the generations, and just
expanded your world.
Exactly. Feel very blessed. You know, I'm very grateful to Michael also. You know, even though our relationship is probably not the same as it was, but I'm very grateful for what he's given me. I mean, the fact that I beat him, I'm still, you know, relevant in the swimming world, even though I've been out of it for a few years now, kind of. But it's just, it's all because I beat the guy, right? So I'm grateful for the opportunities that I got after beating him.
What arrived that no one prepared you for?
The fame, for sure. I wasn't ready for that, man. I just feel you secretly enjoy it as a man, you know, to have the admiration of people, but it became really crazy in 2012, 2013, where I was like, I'd go anywhere and I'd feel like I have to be this person. You know,
had the persona.
The persona, right? And it's like sometimes, even if I'm having a bad day, I'm always signing a picture, always taking a picture. It's just like it became tough when, in moments where I was like practicing or when I was preparing and I was doing my thing that I needed to get done, and it wasn't like on your time. The problem is people expect things to be done on their time when you're in the public
domain.
So it's like, you know, you can't go to the gym without being there for an hour and a half, even though your session's only 45. You know what I'm saying? You have to be a part of that process. But you know, I enjoyed it for the most part, like 95% of the time. It's just sometimes it can be a bit draining.
Yeah.
Especially as a youngster. But I think now it's obviously very different. It's not as crazy as it was. But I feel like for the most part, South Africans especially are very nice and very supportive of all sports people. But you know, I have had a lot of negative experience with a lot of different people around South Africa and around the world. I mean, which is normal. But that was, it's interesting to see how people think, which still blows my mind, how people can be like that, you know?
What would you tell someone who finally got what they wanted, but it felt strangely empty?
Sure. That's how I felt for a while. Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, it's because it's the highs are too high. I think that's what it is. The highs are too high and the lows get too low. You know, and it's all about perception. Because if you can be content with yourself, then you don't need anything, right? If you can be content with your results, if I can go to the race and it doesn't matter what really happens, then I'll be content. It doesn't matter what people say, all the media writes. But I'm not that guy as a person. That's the problem. I'm on the higher spectrum of that kind of person. If there's no crowd, I still want to beat you. If there's no one in the stands, I still want to beat you. That's just who I am. It's not about the fans or the expectation. I'm also that person. But then when you add on public expectation, it becomes crippling in moments. So I think the advice that I'd give is just speak to somebody, you know, maybe a professional. I wish I'd spoken to a sports psychologist early in my career. Could have saved a lot of, I don't want to say results because I don't like to go back in the past, but I feel like my life could have been easier. That's what I'll say.
I always live by this saying, be careful what you wish for, because one day it'll come true.
Just might get it, man.
And my experience is it's not quite yours, but my whole journey, like I had a very difficult upbringing, and the world of sport was this world of transcendence. It's not the real world. It's like, it operates by a different set of rules. And I want to be part of that, and I kind of worked my way up, and the pinnacle was to be in a senior role with a winning Olympic team, and I got that opportunity, and off to Beijing. I took on a role as athletic director in Beijing, and this was it. 25 years I've been working to this one point, and the Chinese team in 2008 wins the games, 101 medals, and it's done. The closing ceremony, and I get called into I think it was the Deputy Minister of Sports office, and they're very happy with the outcome. And I'm sitting there, and it's like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what to do.
That's in the start. 100%. Because it's exactly that moment, in the change room where it's pretty much done, right? And what are we doing next? That was my biggest worry after 24, I think. Because my skills, I'm very experienced in life in certain areas, but I'm very underdeveloped in other areas. And I was very protected in some areas. And my dad also, we've spoken about it actually a few times. Not everything was fantastic because he protected me in so many, let's say for relationships, for example. I never really had a serious relationship even until I was like 24, 25, really. So in that part of my life was very underdeveloped where, like 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old boys are like experiencing that and getting their heart broken a few times before, you know what I mean? And I never really experienced that, because I was very protected in that aspect, because when I had to perform, I had to be that guy. So you realize after life, and the skills that I learned in swimming weren't maybe going to serve me too well, maybe on the business side or whatever I wanted to do, because I didn't have much of an idea of what I was going to really do. I'm still competing now, sure, but like my life now in 26 is very different to what it was in like 22, 23, 24.
Do you not think sometimes talent is an excuse not to develop yourself in other areas?
Yeah, big time, of course. I wish I had developed another skill from like 18 to like 24. Just done a bit of a BCom accounting, or just learned a bit more than I probably could have. Just to understand life a bit better. Understand how life works a bit better, because again, I was very sheltered. I don't regret it, because I feel like my journey from what it was, and I was like I said, in London I was very green. I was a green boy. I was an innocent little kid that just knew how to fight and scrap. Didn't know anything. I couldn't even, honestly, I'll tell you honestly, I couldn't even open my own bank account. I was 20, I didn't even understand how that all worked. My mom and my dad helped me with everything. They did. So I was very, very sheltered until I left home in 24 after the 2016 Olympics, lived by myself, went to Turkey, experienced life. I was a very immature kid. I was.
But it's amazing how you're in this new chapter, and you're still very young, 34 years old, and you've got this foundation where you're uplifting communities in terms of swimming and development. And it's a funny thing what that form of empowerment can do. And I'll give you an example. There was this amazing woman in the States, and she was a runner, and every morning she would get up at 6 a.m. and she would go running, and she would go past the homeless shelter, and she would see like all these individuals like struggling with life. And she would go past the next morning, and she thought to herself, like, why is she running, and why are they in that situation? Like, what's the difference in life? Is it luck? Is it circumstance? Is it fate? What is it? She decides, no, I'm going to start a running group with these guys. So she goes and approaches them and says, guys, you want to come running with me? A handful say, okay. The next thing, she's got this entire community of people like running. She forms this group, and the empowerment, the sense of agency that they get from this. And so let's say your outreach program, the sense of agency that you're giving people. She actually formed 16 different like pods, and it became this tremendous success, huge upliftment.
Unbelievable.
Because if you think of yourself as, every morning I get up at 6 a.m. and I go running, how do I perceive myself versus I feel destitute, and I feel like I've lost, and I feel like I've failed, and I'm not worthy, and it's like everything changes.
Yes.
So very powerful. Then you've got this academy, this incredible collaboration with Virgin. It's like revolutionary in terms of swimming South Africa, and it really has opportunity to lift. And so yes, what happened then? You had to focus on what you were doing.
Yes.
It's a new chapter. It's a new time. It's a new Chad,
100%.
which is very exciting. But I want to go back to 2016. So the defending 200-meter butterfly champion, you finished fourth. If I'm not, I might be mistaken here. You call it the worst race of your career.
By far.
What does it feel like when your body does something that your mind refuses to accept?
Yeah. I told you I'm still not over it, man. Just 50 to go. I thought it was my time. I was already planning a celebration in my head with 30 seconds time, and the arms didn't work, and I was just like, what is going on here? You know, and it wasn't even like it wasn't a choke in the final. It wasn't like like we messed this up. It was just like it just stopped working. It just didn't wasn't right. I don't know. It's a strange feeling. I feel like, you know, after 2016, it took me a while to kind of process everything, right? So I processed that race. I processed things that happened at the time, and I let that go to a certain degree. You know what I'm trying to say? So when I go back into that little box in my head and I think about that day, it's not as emotional for me. Like talking about now, it's not as emotional as it was maybe 5 years ago. You know, when I talk about certain events, I feel like, you know, they evoke emotion in you. But like now, I feel like I can talk about it like steady pulse. You know? But it was very hard for me at the time, and I tried to pretend like it didn't, but it really affected me because you know what affected me the most? Not necessarily the loss, because I mean it did, but knowing that he retired, not knowing I was going to get another crack, because I know that if we run it back, the result would have been different. You know, but that's sport and that's life, and I'm sure he had the same thing to say in 2012 in the lead up to 2016. So that's what it is. But I think, yeah, that part of things was hard for me to kind of accept. And I think the fact that I also lost the turn of, I came second in turn of free to Sun Yang, who also tested positive. He was also serving an 8-year ban with World Aquatics and IOC. That also hurts a bit because I know that, you know, I'm the Olympic champion for that race. He shouldn't have been in that race, you know. So, yeah, there's a lot of moving factors there. You know, I got the 2 silvers officially on paper, but it, you know, it should be a gold and a silver, right?
Yeah.
It changes my trajectory. It changes my, you know, it's not just Castan Wade coming back, you know, it's Chad Castan Wade defending it. You know, he's the man. Even if I lost that 2 fly, it is what it was. Come back with Olympic gold, your life is very different. But in saying the same thing, I do believe, looking back on it now, it was a blessing to lose that, because I wouldn't be swimming at 34. I wouldn't be chasing greatness. I wouldn't be going to my 5th Commonwealth. I wouldn't be going to my 5th Olympics. I wouldn't be trying to break the all-time short course record. I'm 3 medals away. I would have retired for sure. I would never have gone in the path that I went on.
So that's the moments of longevity in the sport.
100%. I'm fired up from it still. I'm still that little kid that walked into the London Stadium, just with a little bit of a different set of eyes and a different brain. That's it. Still got the same heart, same ambition, same. You know.
But what you said there is massive. I don't think you realize how massive it is, because there was a big study on Olympic champions. They took 12 Olympic champions historically. It was around 2012. And they interviewed and said, like, what is the X factor? What's the difference between winning a gold and winning silver? And there is a big difference, you know. I mean, you've been there.
Absolutely.
And how do you bring about a result that you've wanted for so many years? You prepared 4 years for one moment, and that moment, you competed with guys who are as good as you. Yeah. In some instances, they might even be better than you. But on the day, you find something. What is the X factor? And they responded saying it's mental, and you yourself testified. You know, that belief system. It's what you tell yourself. But they said one of the big tools was this ability to see opportunity in the crisis. Yes. The crisis is the opportunity.
100%.
So how you've defined 16 is saying that I'm swimming today because of that moment.
Yeah, 100%. I know I am, and I feel like every time I've lost a big race, because I've lost many races, I think people, again, I've said this to a lot of my kids in my academy, like, I've lost a hell of a lot more that you haven't seen. You've just seen the big ones at the Olympics. People don't understand that, but the one thing I never shackled, right? So 19, before COVID, I got double bronze in the 2 fly 100 fly. 2 young guys coming through the ranks, Caleb Dressel, Christoph Milak, both breaking Michael Phelps' world records. Okay, I'm an aging swimmer, they 19, 20, coming through the ranks, smashing Michael Phelps' world records in the super suits, way faster than I've ever been. The first thing that I do when I touch the water, I never forget, is I got 12 months to beat this guy. That's the first thought. It's not, oh my gosh, like a lot of times, like I heard people from Hungary, and I don't want to mention some of his names, but they're swimming for second. That's never been my mindset. You know, it makes me upset when people talk like that to me, like talk like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like you got, you know, he's in the race. We can try and make him, like, no, like what do you know, I'm ready to fight for that.
Failure is just feedback.
Yeah, so I look at that and I just go, what am I going to do to beat this guy? And I'm at the water and I'm like, across myself and like, okay, he came past me at the third 50. He beat me by far in the last 50, but I was ahead at the 125. Okay, we're going to work on the endurance. Okay, I'm thinking, before I get to my coach, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do to beat this guy. Whether I beat him or not doesn't matter. That's just the mindset that I've always had.
Who are you outside of the pool?
You're asking me?
Yeah. I want to know what your friends and family know.
I mean, maybe it's hard to ask me. I mean, look, the way I see myself is I'm a family man. I love my parents, love my brothers and sisters, love all the kids that we have. I love my community of people, my friends. I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of maybe acquaintances, but I've only got a very small circle of friends, which I've had since the beginning of time. I love sports more than anything in the world. All sports, like swimming chose me, I never chose swimming. If I could choose, I would play soccer, I'd play rugby for the Springboks, if you're asking me. But I love competing. I love watching live sports. I'm very ambitious in life. I feel like I look at things as opportunities always. Everything I see is how can I get better? And that's, like I say, double-edged sword. It's also that never finished, never completed, mindset, unfortunately, that I always have. But yeah, I feel like I don't want to say a humble guy, but I feel like I'm a humble guy that comes from humble beginnings, that just wants to be the best in the world. Simple.
Talk to you like the notion that so much of our identity and self-worth is built into what we do, and what we do is ultimately someone else's perception of us at a certain stage in life.
Yeah.
Chad, you're unbelievable at this. Yeah. You should do that. And then you get recognition for that. Oh, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
You get more recognition. I've got to do more of this. You get better at it. So I'm good at it, and we're passionate about what we're good at. I'm really passionate about this. And before you know it, you kind of disappeared into this world, and that world became your life. And it's been a very rewarding life. It's been a massive gift. But it's amazing, like when we strip it all away, and we ask ourselves, who are we?
Yeah.
And it's
sometimes not an easy question to answer, actually.
It's very, very difficult.
Because you have to think about it, I've been asked the question before, so I was kind of half prepared, but I think if you'd asked me this 5 years ago, I wouldn't really know how to answer that question, honestly, without maybe lying to you. Because it's something that I think people should ask themselves in whatever space they're in. Who am I outside of what I do? It's crazy.
So, there's one, I watched one clip of you. This for me is actually one of the most emotional scenes that I've ever watched in sport.
Really?
Yeah, Melbourne 2022.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just simple way of background. Sinus surgery, you can't swim. You're cycling up a storm on the bike in Durban, I believe.
Yes.
4 months later, you're in Melbourne, and you smash it.
Yeah.
And there was something about that 200-meter butterfly.
Yeah.
It was the last 50 meters.
Yeah.
You got I think it was 3 guys ahead of you.
Yes.
I think you're in 4th. And the commentator saying that he's the best in history underwater.
Yes.
And you don't come up.
Yes.
And you see me.
Second to last lap. Yeah.
And you see these 3 guys like shoot off this. Where's Chad? And you come up in front of them.
Yeah.
It was, I've got goosebumps saying that. It was crazy. And then there was this energy, there's something like happened in you, and it's almost like you rose above the water. It was a crazy, crazy moment.
Thank you.
What changed?
That was
That's one of
my favorite races.
1 minute 48, 27 or something like that.
Second fastest time in history. So it was faster than my previous world record. Only one guy before that had gone faster.
At 32 years old?
Yep.
Or 30?
No, I was
31.
Almost 31, yeah. So no one had ever won the 200 fly past 25 at that event. Besides Michael, obviously. So it's me and Michael that stand in that moment. But I think...
What changed?
I don't want to make a long story, but I have to go back.
I want to go back.
Okay. I have to go back because I can't tell you the story without going back. Like, wow, we came at a difficult time, 22, because I just turned 30. Again, we had a bit of... come out of a bit of a bad headspace, probably that deserves its own little section to talk about. But let's just say 2021 wasn't the easiest time for me, okay? Had a bit of traumatic experience that happened to me outside of the pool, which threw me into a bit of a wobbly stage. I wasn't the same Chad after end of Jan 21 until October 22. So it took me a year and a half to come out of that. Same time I had a very serious relationship. We had a pretty serious breakup right before the Commonwealth Games in 22. This is like 2 weeks before, so obviously, it wasn't the best timing. Went to the Commonwealth Games, which was the major for the year. I was swimming with a guy, Sonny Trigg, who unbelievable coach, and he's done really amazing things outside the water. And we lost our home at the time because I was living in Turkey, and obviously after COVID-21 they kicked us out, and our whole team was in Sweden, Germany, Italy. We didn't have a team at the time. Anyway, we go to Commonwealth Games. I needed 2 more medals to be the greatest Commonwealth Games athlete of all time. I still do, okay? I get the 2 fly on the 31st of July, 10 years to the minute almost from the London race. I'm in lane 5. Commonwealth, a lot easier than Olympics, okay? Should win this race. Not in the greatest shape, greatest head shape, but should still get the job done. Dive in, ahead at 50, ahead at 100, ahead at 150, and just like conditioning, just the piano fell on my back, lactic acid went through the roof. Lost about 0.3 to the New Zealand guy, Lewis. And that was devastating for me because I needed that win to firstly break the record, equal the record and break it. And also for me to be undefeated for 4 years, 4 consecutive Commonwealth, that's 12 years consecutively. My last win was in 2010 to 2022. Anyway, lose that race, come out of that, shake it off, 4th in the relay that night. Okay, that sucks. 4th in the relay, men's mixed, 4th in the 4x2. Then 100 fly, 4th by 0.1, right? I'm like, this can't be happening to me. I got 1 more race, 4x1 medley. Canada get disqualified. In the morning, they're the second favorites. We're going to coast through to the silver behind Australia. We're going to challenge for the gold, definitely get silver. Anyway, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but one of the young boys overslept, didn't get on the bus, didn't show up for the race. So the relay was disqualified.
Oh my goodness.
Because we had a B team in the morning. So obviously everyone gets medals. So in Commonwealth, we're able to do that like the Americans do at the Olympics. Anyway, we didn't qualify for that relay. So I ended up that games, I ended up with 1 silver medal when I was supposed to get minimum 4 medals with the relays. The 100 turner fly for sure. Anyway, I come out of that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like in a bad place. My dad's like, if you want to win again, I can teach you how to win again. We're going to put the phone off. We're going to get that mindset back. Get rid of everything that's happened in the last couple of months. Speak to someone properly. Get your mind right. It's nothing to do with your ability. You, the man. Went to Germany, got my focus back. Literally going into that Melbourne Games. Also a lot of pressure because I felt like I was in good shape. And that 2 fly was just the greatest, outside of Olympics, the greatest race of my life. Just like Chad le Clos 2.0. That's what I called it. It was just, coming into those games, I was just a different person again. I just remembered who I was.
So your dad was the beacon.
He was the beacon.
He's the beacon. Go back. Find yourself again.
He's like, I called him afterwards and I said something. Yeah, I was crying when I called him after that relay, after we didn't even make the final because, whatever. I said, I don't know what's going on, Dad. It's the first time I've really cried after like big races, and I was like devastated, like truly devastated. He was like, I promise you, we'll get you back. Do you trust me? I was like, of course. He's like, I promise you, we're going to have a holiday. We're going to take 2 weeks off. We're going to go jawling. We're going to get you a sinus surgery. We're going to get you fixed up. And I promise you, we're going to come back from this. I promise you. And I believed him. And I just followed what he said, followed the blueprints that he did in 2012.
Sure. It reminds me of arguably the most powerful story, and it's a very powerful story, of a woman by the name of Vilma Rudolph. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
I have heard of. I have heard.
Yeah.
Why have I heard?
I'll tell you the story, and then it's going to make perfect sense. It's going to unfold. So she was born 1940, and she was born prematurely and literally almost died. But what made her life more challenging is that she grew up in the States. She had 22 siblings, and her dad was a janitor, mom didn't work.
Sure.
So crazy poverty.
Sure.
And the first 5 years was touch and go. She's going to make it, she's going to make it, she's going to make it. And at around the age 5, what happens is she contracts polio and becomes paralyzed.
Sure.
So she develops infantile paralysis, can't walk, and she's sitting in a wheelchair. And her mom kind of says to all her siblings, guys, I want you to help her try and walk. I want you to massage her. I want you to participate. She's got to recover. And for 7 years, she's bound to a wheelchair. And then one day she gets up.
Jeez.
So she takes 1 or 2 steps, and it's like an amazing feeling. And the feeling of freedom, you imagine being in a wheelchair for 7 years as a child.
Sure.
And then you can stand, you take a few steps and I've got to take a little jog, and she starts running. And the run goes to a sprint. You just feel the wind. I feel this freedom. And everywhere she went from the age of 12, she would sprint. At 16, no jokes, she qualifies for Olympic Games for the States and wins a bronze medal at 16.
Unbelievable.
She's only been walking for 4 years. No, it gets even better. 4 years later, now all the universities are like, Vilma, here's a scholarship. This is what we can do for you. And she signs up with one of the universities, and they take her under her wing. And 4 years later, she's at the Olympic Games, and she breaks, I think, three gold medals, 2 world records she breaks.
Which Olympics was this?
This was 1960.
Rome Olympics, yeah.
Yeah, 1960. And so she's broken the record, fastest woman on earth, 100 meters and 200 meters.
Jeez. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
That's a crazy...
No. How's this? It's getting even crazier. So she was asked, like, how did you do this? How on earth did you do this?
How did you walk again?
How did you walk again? The doctors, and she said, the doctors said I would never walk again, repeatedly. But my mom said I would.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I believed my mom.
Yeah.
And I believed my mom.
Yeah.
So here you have this dark year, 2021.
Yeah. Dark year.
Like, you got me intrigued. Like, what happened?
Shouldn't have said it, eh? No. Look, I don't talk about the incident that happened per se, but I'll just say that it was a very traumatic experience that happened to me outside the water. I will talk about it one day.
Okay.
I will talk about it one day, but not right now still.
Okay.
It was, nothing to do with swimming. It was just, hard to, But anyway, it was just, my mind was fried and preoccupied just traumatized after that moment for a long time. Heading into that Olympics, promise you now, I got 5th in the Olympics, absolutely numb with emotion. Physically in great shape, I mean, on course to definitely medal, 2 races for sure. In 2020, we coasting to, for sure, 2 medals, in the shape that I was in. But after this had happened and COVID and unable to train, it was just one of those where that was the most difficult time of my life, In October 21, I was at ISL, Netherlands, it was winter, and it was a time, and like, I'm a happy guy, right? I'm not a suicide kind of guy, but those thoughts were running through my mind. I was in the lowest spot of my life. I remember I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do. Like, this is just, I was in a really dark place from everything that had happened that year. And obviously just the compound of results and, my identity being taken away from me because I thought that was it, right? And then, anyway, we kind of pushed on to the world champs, the short course champs. And funny enough, I was on social media and there's this page that shows the stats of swimming. And I had no idea that I was number 2 all time in the medal counts. So the second best swimmer of all time. And I was literally called my dad, this was a week before the world champs in December. I'm in Dubai. And I was like, I can't do this. And my dad's like, just come home. It was also during the COVID time, so they couldn't travel. So he's like, no, come home, we'll book you a flight tomorrow. Like, it doesn't matter, swimming's not important, your health is more important. Anyway, I see this thing on social media when I'm about to book my flight and it says Chad's only 7 medals behind. I call my dad back, I go, I'm sure I can get 1 bronze this week. Let me get a bronze, just so I could, because I want to break that record. And honestly, I did some crazy stuff that week. I was drinking excessively. I had to go and party 4 or 5 days before to just escape from my reality. I'm ashamed to admit it to the people, but it's the truth. Before 2021 World Champs in Abu Dhabi, I went out with my mates and I just had to get absolutely blind drunk to just escape the reality that I was in. The pain that I was in, I had to just escape that. And anyway, we managed to get 2 medals. We got a bronze and a silver. Very fortunate to get both, but I came back after that and that's when I started my really rebuilding phase, heading into 22. And that's why 22 was a hard time for me.
No, it's like but it's like the redemption.
It was.
In so many respects.
It was. It was such a, I wish I could talk about that, what really happened, and I will one day be able to, but it'll make so much more sense when people understand. But I feel like the phase that I was in also could have been solved a lot quicker if I'd just spoken to a professional, because I didn't. I kind of like refused to. And my dad was begging me for a long time, just please, even like after February 2021, just please just go chat to someone, just go get some help, for what's actually happening. And I I don't know, embarrassed. I don't know what I was feeling, but I just refused to do it.
You don't want to feel vulnerable. You know?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, really. And I mean, I had a sports psychologist before that was helping me with like other stuff, like small stuff, nothing compared to this. But that was a hard time for my family. I mean, I want to put that up there with my mom having cancer. It was that hard for the whole family. It was a tough time. Seriously tough time.
Hasn't been an easy road, huh?
It hasn't, but I also don't want to make it like, I don't want people to think that I'm this victim kind of guy.
Not at all.
Because I'm not. I'm grateful for these experiences now, looking back. I am. I'm happy that these things happened because, you know, looking at my last 3 Olympics, it's funny that worst 3 runs, right? Before. So hopefully 28 is not the same, but I'm still grateful for these experiences because I really believe I'm bulletproof now. Like what I've gone through in my life, outside the water especially, it's never been the problem inside the water. My training has never been the problem. Showing up on time, it's always been, my big defeats in my life have always come from extramural activities and stuff like that. It's never had to do with training, showing up. You know, it's never ever been any of that.
So, you know, we talk about cost, and I mean 18 Commonwealth medals, correct?
Yeah, 18, yeah.
4 Olympics, 4 FINA World Cup Series titles, world records.
Yeah, gone now, but
I mean, that's a headline, but like, what do you feel it's cost you in this?
In the journey?
In the journey of life.
Sure. Sacrifice relationships for sure. Had to say no to love a few times. That's because of me. I have to be this killer. I've explained it to people before, like, and it might sound stupid to some people, but like, I have to be a killer when I get to the blocks. I can't be
in 2 places.
Yeah, I can't be. I'm all in with everything I do. If I have a relationship, I'm all in. So I sacrifice my swimming. I can't do that. So I sacrifice relationships for sure. My youth, to a certain degree, you know, I didn't have a cell phone from 2009. I was 17 through to 2012. Like, my cell phone from Monday to Friday was off, just because of the emotional distraction. That's something my dad taught me. That's not because I was like a weird guy that didn't have a phone. It was just because emotional distractions and social medias at the time, like the Mixit and the Facebook, was burning through. You know, my dad realized that why, when you get home from work, are you exhausted? You can't do anything, but you haven't done any exercise. It's because mentally you're on the computer, you're on your phone, you're doing work, right? People in general. So I found that, like, when I was on my phone all the time and being obsessed with social media and, you know, chatting to people all the time, it was burning up my emotional energy. So we got rid of that. So I did sacrifice a lot of that, you know, like I say, relationships in general, you know, were very much sacrificed. But, you know, and obviously the parties and the, you know, that youth to a certain degree, you know.
Who did you have to stop being to become this elite athlete?
To be honest, I didn't have to stop being anybody because I was that guy. I didn't actually know too much what I was missing out. That's the funny part. So it became harder after 2012 to invest in myself, to sacrifice. I use the word invest because that's what we're doing. We're investing in ourselves. We're not sacrificing, you know. But it became so much harder to do that. Even now, it's so much harder now than it was before 2012 because I didn't really know what I was missing out on in some respects, you know. Not to say do I like to have a couple of drinks with the boys? Absolutely. Is there a time and place to do it in December, you know, after nationals? Sure, you know, but like I can't go every weekend like the normal guys in their 30s and 20s, right? I don't do that, can't do that. So you have to sacrifice, you have to invest in yourself a lot more than you would. You know, maybe in other sports it is a little bit different, you know. Other sports you can afford to let loose a little bit more, but with swimming, unfortunately, you have to be on the game 24/7.
So if there's someone listening right now and they're in it and they're showing up and they're still waiting for their breakthrough, when it was hardest for you, what would have helped? Not theory, something real.
Before 2012, it was different to what it was after 2012. I think after 2012, it was a person to lean on, a confidant would have helped a lot. Before 2012, it was hard, but I didn't need much before 2012. If I'm honest, I didn't need anything.
Yeah.
I come from humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot of money before 2012. We didn't, you know, we were rich. We were so rich because we were so happy. I love the grind, still do. I love the grind. I love knowing that I was going there just to destroy everybody. That's the mentality I had. I was so resilient, and I was so ruthless when it came down to what I needed to do in the pool, you know. And after 2012, I changed a little bit because had to become this public persona and, you know, do this and, you know, maybe soften me a little bit for a couple months, but then I got that right back, you know. But it didn't matter, man. You could throw anything my way back then. I mean, I had my dad, I had my brothers, sister, my mom. Didn't need anything else, to be honest.
You know, it's like a word, this word resilience, that I think it's the future of humanity. Like, we have to be resilient.
100%.
And what is it? And there was this idea, and largely propagated by 3 studies in the military, that if you're resilient, you have persistence, grit, perseverance. You've stratospherically, unequivocally. I mean, that's what's got you through. So we're looking, you know, there's 3 studies, 2,500 people on the study, and they're saying, okay, well, these guys have filled out these grit questionnaires, and there's a 48% high probability of making this very difficult, it's beast barracks within a certain sector of the US military. And the guys who scored well, 48% chance of getting through it and doing extraordinary things within that 7-8 week period. And then 1 or 2 researchers said, look, okay, well, what's the end game here? The end game is sustained success. Sustained success.
Yes.
Success in that moment is different. We got to get through this. We got to win this. We got to achieve this. We got to get the medal. We got to be on the podium, and that's persistence, perseverance, grit. You just like
keep going.
You keep going.
Sure.
So saying, what's going to create longevity here? And they started looking at these cadets and saying, okay, well, these guys wanted very kind of rewarding and fulfilling careers within the military, and they want to grow. And when you're looking at this cohort, you're saying that, okay, well, we've got to look at them from 4 years and above. And they start investigating, and we've got this whole thing is grit, and they look at the questionnaires, and they look at those individuals at the 4-year mark, and they found that there's no correlation between how they scored on these grit and perseverance questionnaires and their 4-year success and their long-term success. And what they uncovered was that sustained success, it's something different. You mentioned it earlier today. It was that moment of reinvention.
Yes.
Sustained success is about adaptability. Who am I today? Who am I now? Who am I going to be? How am I going to change? How am I going to do this different? We walked with, the beginning of the conversation was you dropping your volume.
Yes.
Everything's going to be different now. I'm
Yes.
changing my training. I'm dropping my volume. I put on how many kilos?
Yes.
That's sustained
Right.
success. It's about doing it differently.
And one more thing is just keeping a goal always. Even if it's a monthly goal, yearly goal, quarterly goal, 4-year goal. I think the goal is also something that you need to have, as well as adaptability, for sure. I think that's very powerful.
It's the compass.
It is, because without that, for me,
Yeah.
I need the carrot.
Yeah.
I need to know exactly what I'm going.
Exactly like you.
I can't not have it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand. Like I love swimming. I don't swim for fun though. I do like gymming, but I don't gym for fun.
No.
There's purpose to everything I do.
Yeah.
Everything that I do. And I have to know why I'm doing it. I don't want to do it because I'm just doing it. Like before, it would be, we're going to do it because the coach says. But now, at my age and at my level, I have to understand a hell of a lot more why I'm doing it. Because we're going to get stronger. Because we're going to increase our tempo top end speed. Because we're going to increase our easy speed. Because we need to get our lactic acid up over 8.4. So that we can produce more power when it counts, the last 10 meters.
But I've got a massive question for you now.
What's that?
Why 5th Olympics?
It's quite easy. Why do you think it is? You've been with me for a while. You tell me why it is. You tell me why it is.
I mean, you're the most decorated South African Olympian.
Have a guess. It's quite an easy one.
I
Should get it.
You have nothing to prove. So like, it's not going to do. It can't be with that.
No. So
not to yourself, not to anyone.
no, it's so that I can stand alone. No one's done 5.
Oh,
Simple.
wow.
No one's done 5. So there's only, I think, 4 that have done 4. I think it's Sunil Fullion, I think Roland, I think it's Rake, not sure, and myself, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check that. But no one has done 5. If I do 5, I stand alone. You know, my goal, I'd say from like 2017, 2018 was to try and be the greatest sportsman South Africa's ever had. In that realm, in that conversation, no one's ever going to be everyone has opinions, but I'm saying I'd like to be in that conversation of being one of the all-time greats in South Africa. I have my goat mountain, who I think is up there.
You're already there, though.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, but I think one more Olympics, maybe, no more medals can really secure that, because I've done everything I need to do. I still believe I will be world champion 2026. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but December the 1st to the 7th, I will be on the podium, short course.
So you got the goal, you got the what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
I still want to unpack the why.
I don't know why. I think that's just who I am. I really do. I think that's just what I was meant to do. And it's like, what's nice about it is also just like the people that are still doubting the process of me. Like even last week in Nationals, everyone, I hadn't raced in long course since Olympics, right? So no one thought I was going to win or qualify or be a part of the team, and like, I was just there, and I love that feeling of also kind of half proving people wrong, I do it to prove my supporters right, mainly, and my team right, but I'm also, is there a small chip on my shoulder? Probably. But I just like to prove people wrong in that domain, because for me, it hasn't been easy my whole life. I've never really been the favorite in anything I've done, and I've always liked that. I've always liked to be the dark horse or the underdog, That's kind of my story, The movie Southpaw resonates with me more than anything. Jake Gyllenhaal, the 2015 the boxing movie, where he was this brawler that more he got hit, the more he bled, the more he fought harder. That was me. And then I got older, my body changed. I had to become more southpaw, more technical. So like for me, that's kind of my story. I still have that delusional belief in myself. I still have that, trust me. Like I said at the beginning of this chat, I'm not here just to be a part of numbers. I'm here to try and be competitive at the next Olympics, if that's part of the plan. Short course in the 25-meter pool, I need 3 more medals, and I'm the greatest short course swimmer in history. Michael's the greatest long course. No one's going to catch him there. God bless him. But short course, it can be Michael Phelps long course, Chad le Clos short course. That's a cool story to have for South Africa, right? It's
a cool story. But you said something that I don't want to lock into, and it's something that resonates a lot for me. There is a part of you that wants to prove your supporters right.
Yes, mainly that.
And it's a big thing, if someone backs me, and there's been situations where I wasn't that skilled at the time where I should have done what I did, but someone backed me and said, I believe that you can do this. I'm going to get into this.
You won't let them down.
I'm not letting you down. And whatever you expect of me, I'm going to deliver. Why? Because you backed me.
100%.
And your supporters have backed. It's an amazing thing. And that's the X factor in life. We think that passion for being the most decorated or the most revered or the highest performing athlete within the Olympic context in South Africa, we think it's a passion piece. No, it's a purpose piece.
It is a purpose piece.
It's a purpose piece.
I didn't think of that. It is a purpose piece.
I
would actually think, I'd probably think it's passion, but I'm thinking it's purpose now.
The only thing that can get you there, the only thing that can get you there is purpose.
You're right. It is purpose.
Because when you're doing something for someone else, you raise yourself beyond your own expectations.
100%. For me, like, my dad still thinks that we can do some amazing things. So I also believe it, right?
Yeah.
And he's not doing it to keep me going, trust me, because he's told me many times, if you don't want to do this anymore, retire. You've already overachieved for the whole family.
Yeah. Well, for the country.
That's what I'm saying. But he's like, I'm telling you now, there's more legs. There's more, there's a 3.0 coming. I'm telling you now, I'm going to reinvent myself. And we're going to be challenging. That's the most important thing. I'm going to be in the mix of the best swimmers in the world. And I think there's no greater feeling. Even if you fail, it's okay. Just go for it, right? So I tell my kids, I'm like, who cares? We go for it. We go for the jugular every single time. And the naysayers should feel you. Don't worry about them. I've had people died me my whole life. As long as you've got your dad or your mom, and if you don't have your dad and your mom, you got me. I'm in your corner. You got me and you got the coaches. That's more important than anything. You've got a strong team that believes in you, and that's what we are.
Yeah, and that's the message.
That's the message.
That's the message. So I've got a final question, and the final question is: London, 20 years old, you touch the wall, you beat the man you've always called the greatest of all time. That version of you, if he could see you now, not the medals, you, what would he feel?
Sure. It's a deep question.
Deep.
Damn. I'll need a little bit of time because I feel it's a hard question to answer. I don't know, actually. I feel like it would be He'd be proud in a way, but maybe not so proud in some ways. Because that Chad in 2012 was such a relentless killer that you'd probably be a little disappointed in not winning a couple more Olympics, if I'm honest. But he'd be proud of the man that I am today and the fact that I feel like we're helping a lot of people, a lot of kids. We're creating a legacy for my family and my name with the Virgin Active Chad le Clos Academy. You know, I feel like there's much more to be proud of. But I think there would be a small portion of him that'd be like disappointed not to have won in 2016 and 2021, if I'm honest.
And what would you say back?
It was part of the journey. It was meant to be, unfortunately. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. So I'm going to change the pace a little bit. I'm going to ask you a couple of short questions. First thing that comes to mind. What's the one thing we should know about you that we don't?
Shy naturally at heart, but not perceived as that.
London 2012, one word.
Unbelievable.
Paris 2024, one word.
Disappointing.
What do you want to be remembered for without the swimming piece as part of the legacy?
Someone that gave back to the kids and gave opportunity to kids from all walks of life. Poor, rich, everything.
This is like your reinvention in 2022, or redemption. What became possible when you let go?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Nothing was impossible.
So there's always this talk around Michael, the swimmer you feared the most on the start line that wasn't Phelps.
So I never feared Phelps. I never feared any opponent. Never. I still don't. But if you're asking me the swimmer that I was...
You'd have to keep an eye on.
Not really. No one. I say that very respectfully. I don't fear no man on the block. If I've been wary of those opponents, I mean, of course, Caleb is up there, right? Caleb, Michael, you'll throw him in the mix. Not necessarily Michael, because we only raced really... Remember, he retired after London, technically, and he came back, so I only really raced him twice. You know, I've raced Dressel, Christoph Milak a few times. Those guys would probably be more in the mix. Tom Shields, guy that I went to war with a couple of times. But never fear, no. Always excited about the challenge.
I love it. If I were to say a shift happens, what does it mean to you?
A shift happens.
Shift happens.
Well, like we're putting in a good shift? Training? What do you mean a shift?
Transformation.
Oh, shift, okay. See, the boy didn't finish school, you can see, eh? I'd say just finding the better version of yourself. That's what I'd say. Finding the best version of yourself. Continuously finding the best version of yourself.
Chad, this was unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
Thank you.
May this fifth Olympics be the Olympics of all Olympics. May it's completely outshine 2012.
Thank you.
The reinvention that you're on, we excited to watch and follow and be part of it.
Thank you.
And my wish is that you grow in your support system, and that this journey is not one that you do in an isolated or a solo fashion, but it's part of a group that really holds you.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
it.
Thank you very much.
For me, Chad's session holds three major takeouts. The first is optimism, the belief in a positive future. And optimism is not diminishing or dismissing what's going on right here, right now, and the challenges that you face. But this belief in a positive future aligns your actions, your habits, and your mindset. The second takeout was clarity. Chad always knew what he wanted. He knew who he had to become. Chad's journey reminds us that performance begins with identity. The third takeout is very much around the idea that the setback is actually the opportunity. Chad's story of challenge in 2016 and the culmination of that challenge being going for a fifth Olympics really proves that point. Adversity is not the interruption. It's often the path itself. My call to action is to take a moment, to reflect on who you want to become in your work, in your relationships, in your life, and what is going to have to change. Once we have this clarity, we have the opportunity for action. And once we action oriented, we create momentum. And ultimately, momentum creates change. Join me for the next episode as we keep shifting.